The biggest challenge
There we go.
playing 3 games in 13 days and trying to keep the physicality up in practice, but knowing you also have depleted numbers and increased reps from those guys that are actually playing?
Sure. Yeah. No, all the challenges you would assume. First, certainly the physical piece, and then just the psychological piece as well. There's just a lot to control. It's a physical, violent game. These guys are getting late into the year, and then you got an accumulation of games, three in that 18-day spread. So it's a toll on their body. So guys have got to learn how to be professionals. It's difficult to learn how to be a professional when you're a college kid. They're managing a lot. They're going through the Georgia Institute of Technology finals this week as well, and we actually practiced a little bit earlier to allow them to release to go clean up some academic stuff after a late Saturday night. Get back at midnight, and then we get right back on manage their day pretty good on Sunday, and then we're practicing. 3 days away from tip on a Monday, so it's a lot for them physically to get their bodies back. So again, our training staff does a great job. I actually walked up when coach was talking about Ryan Horton, but we scientifically try to manage their player loads and what they're doing and how many steps they're taking and what their rates are, so that we can try to get them back efficiently as possible. At the end of the day, there's no excuses about it. We're going to get there on Thursday night, and I promise you that Pittsburgh will not feel sorry for us and take any pity on us, so we've got to be ready to play. Our guys are going to see somebody across from them, and they're going to have their competitive energy and competitive nature, and we're going to get to go. But it's certainly challenging, and then the big piece is we do such a great job of our kids of just the mental load of having the days scheduled out as to the way that they're processing things. This day is normal downs, this day is third down, this day is red zone, so we're having to compile some of those as well. So there's the information just barrier as well that you have to work through, but we're ready for the challenge.
Next question comes from Rod McKenzie from 247 Sports.
Hey, Andrew. Naturally, there was a lot of talk after the game about the young players and them having to step up. And I wonder if you could just maybe tell us what you saw from guys like Ivy, Kennard, Keenan Johnson, and so forth.
Okay. Kyle, Keenan, and Jared, as it is still a bit choppy. Yeah. 2020. Wow. We get to 3 hours before the game, and we, as we said before, literally we found out who was available, and you allot certain practice reps as to what you expect is going to happen and be available in the game. And then 2020 has a way of throwing all kind of surprises at you. So we had a lot of guys forced into action, and they took advantage of the opportunity. You asked about Kyle Kennard. Obviously, he probably had the splashy plays and maybe got his name in the paper a little more, but he came up with the 2 sacks. One was off of a normal down where he played technique and was able to insert off of a line stunt and took advantage of the opportunity. And then he's got this knack and this ability to rush the passer, which is taught, but also is just instinctive and innate. So we put him down in the third down package as well. We're in a passing situation and see what he was able to win off the edge off of a 5-man stunt. So it was really good to see him be productive. Outside of that, you see the splashy plays, but he had to play 50-plus normal down plays where he's over there having to anchor the boundary edge. And again, we were able to hold up in the run for most of the game. So he wasn't just a pass rush specialist. He wasn't just a package guy. He was forced into starting action, and he held up as well. Jared Ivey, the last couple of weeks, has become our starter at that field defensive end, which is a testament to him and his development. He's becoming an above-the-line guy. He's got to prove himself again on a short week, but he's held up. He's steady. He's given us the anchor to the field to defend the run and the pass, and just really pleased with where he's come physically. His physicality is the biggest piece in learning how to play with his hands and learning how to play inside the trenches. What was the third one you asked about, Rod? Rod asked about a third one. He's on mute. Did you say Kenan?
Kenan Johnson.
Yeah, Kenan. Yeah. So Kennan's going into redshirt year. Got a little bit of burn this past season. He's battled through some the things that have impeded him through the course of the season, but he got in there and competed his tail off. The referees were active in one-on-one situations out on the perimeter, but he also, although he got one time, he got a PI. He also has a textbook teach tape where we put those guys in a lot of aggressive situations, man-to-man out on the perimeter. But he's got a textbook clip to where he was in phase, stayed on top, was physical at the top end of the route, and he looked back into the football and made an elite play for us on a critical third down in a competitive situation. But I'm really pleased. Again, he's smaller in stature, but he is as competitive on the line of scrimmage as anyone that we got, and physical. Even though his stature, you would expect him to be physical, he's as physical on the line of scrimmage and competitive as anyone as we have out on the perimeter. And that's another freshman really pleased with his progress.
Next question from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.
Hey, Andrew, you guys were down to 3 defensive ends on Saturday, and obviously you did some kind of bodging together of things like with Charlie Thomas. And can you just talk about kind of what the situation is right now at that position going forward for this week?
Yeah, Coach will talk about all personnel decisions, but we had to be creative relative. You guys know who was available on Saturday. We had to be creative. When I say creative, we had to be creative. We got ready for our walkthrough and pregame, and made some adjustments before our pregame meal. And the biggest piece I'm just so proud of is just the attitude of everyone. Charlie Thomas had his preparation reps at a different position, at the Willie position, and he was thrust into that opportunity right there. And it was crazy the amount of confidence he gave me. Just, I got you, Coach. I'm good. Let's go. Whatever we got to do for this team. There was a lot of selflessness on Saturday and a lot of taking advantage of opportunity. Outside of that, Kelly, I'm not ducking your question. Obviously, all roster and availability questions go to Coach Collins, but we're preparing to have everyone back and available so we can get what we feel is our 4-2-5 core to the game, and then we'll always be creative with our packages.
Next question comes from Ken Segura from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Hey, Andrew. Actually, about Charlie, I'm curious. I'm guessing you had to teach him to play rush end in a matter of hours. What was that like?
Coach Coleman, myself did a great job. A little crash course. He is as cerebral in terms of football intelligence of a kid as we have. He's learned multiple positions. He's already played nickel, already played Willie, already played a joker position. So he's a guy that can just carry that mental load. Football awareness, football instinct, FBI football intelligence comes naturally to Charlie Thomas. And then he's just has a unique skill set. He's got coverage ability, he has rush ability, he has inside the box, and he's just one of our better tacklers in general. So being able to anchor an edge, our better tacklers and better pass rushers. So he was able to do that. It was amazing what he was able to either recall from moments all the way back to his freshman year, or what he was able to comprehend in a short amount of time. And at that point, it just became back to just his instinctive nature as a football player. So really pleased, really proud of him, and just a really neat example of selflessness.
Another one from the AJC, this time from Bailey Johnson.
Hey, Andrew. With what you were talking about earlier with managing the mental load on the guys, how much does already having some of the game plan for Pitt installed help with that?
A lot. It helped the coaches quite a bit. We got back midnight Saturday night. We got back, tried to put everything to bed. It is most important for us to get the teaching off the previous game that we had, those real live reps and the lessons that they're able to learn, where scheme carries over, where scenarios carry over, where technique and fundamentals. So we made sure that we continue to spend the amount of time appropriate for that. But then we had to get right back to game planning to get ready for what is a normal down, short yardage goal line install by 7 a.m. this morning in meetings. So for us to be able to have a recall, for us to be able to go back and see, hey, here was our thought process going in, however many weeks ago it was. This was the base game plan. We had made it all the way to a Thursday before that game had got cut, so we had gone through all of the scenarios. As always, like anyone, they've had time off as well. They had a Virginia Tech game. They had the Clemson game. They put some wrinkles just like everybody does, so we had to go back and see, what are they doing differently, what are they doing the same. But over the course of time, they've had the same offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, for a while that does a great job. He's got a staple. He's got a feel for what he does. He's always going to have nuances, but it was very helpful for us to go back to accelerate the process. Today, we literally, in this morning's meeting, we were able to show practice reps of us installing what we put in today if our guys are already doing that versus Pitt's offense. So we were able to have visual recall, kinesthetic recalls to really accelerate the process. And our guys are smart, and they'll do a great job accelerating their process this week. But very helpful that we made it all the way to a Thursday planning in a previous game plan.
Time for just a couple more for Coach Thacker. We'll start with one from Kelly Quinlan.
It seems like both David and Quez are playing a lot better since the break. Is there anything you put your finger on? David talked about, trying to have fun again, and maybe they were being too hard on themselves or something early. Is there anything in particular you put your finger on with that?
Yeah, I can't speak to that. That's personal for them. But we've played better at the line of scrimmage. We played better at the line of scrimmage, so it's allowed them to be better tacklers. Less space creates better tacklers at linebacker. Some of the tackles that we had missed earlier in the season, we've cleaned those things up with wrapping and clamping. I remember in previous weeks you asked about the acceleration tackling through the course of the season, and those real live reps not being available until as you got in, and we were able to learn through some mistakes. The more football you play, the more experience you have too, the better you get, and those guys do a great job in terms of preparation. Whatever physical skill level they have, that's great, but those guys study and give themselves a chance by knowing what's coming. It was why they've played better. There was an FSL 3-by-1 formation. The tight end was into the boundary, the back was to the field, and they were going to run stretch. And early in the second series, David Curry knew exactly the play was coming. He was able to trigger inside of the tight end and get a TFL to get us in a 3rd and long situation to get us off the field on the second drive. He knew that the play was coming, so that made it a little bit easier. So he's continued to prepare at a high level, and now some of the mistakes physically that he had made earlier on are starting to flatten. And then again, I would attribute some success that they've had to the line of scrimmage that's in front of them, as well as those guys have continued to grow and develop.
Okay, our final question for Coach Thacker comes from Rod McKenzie.
Hey, Andrew, speaking of David, he's getting ready to play his final home game at Georgia Tech. In your short time you've been with him, what things stand out to you?
Sure. Maturity, leadership by example, and just a competitive dude. There's a lot of dudes that as a coach you have to manage. There's a lot of lessons to be taught. There's a lot of wisdom to put on them in adverse situation. There's a lot of growing up and maturing. I inherited literally an older guy in the room when I got here the last 2 seasons with him. We all badge him a little bit, but 25, 26, however old he is now. But just his level of maturity as a college football player, how he's a lead in every phase of his life. He's very indicative of what we want in this program and in this culture. Certainly there's production on the field, but the way that he handles himself, be it football preparation through the course of the week, the way that he handles himself outside, in the classroom, outside, in his internships and everything that he's doing, just as a citizen of this program, just a lead and just an incredible just maturity. Great family, irregardless of what he does. If there's an opportunity of a pro career, I am 100% sure that he will be a success in life, and just very proud of him in that way. Where he developed the most in our time here is he had a role as a guy that had some production, but in these 2 seasons he's given us such a leadership and a steady hand at that inside linebacker position for our defense. It's always easier to lead and say things when you have the respect of your teammates, and because of his body of work and because of his daily habits that people see, they respect him, and he's given us that leadership value. So certainly thankful for him. When he's ever gone, I don't even want to think about that. That will be the biggest piece that I miss, more so than any production that will show up on a Saturday. But really excited to keep preparing our tails off for him this week, specifically for our linebacker room. It gives us something to play for and somebody to play behind, which is always more fun when it's a dependency sport and you've got something to play for, and just the shared joy moment. So our guys are locked in and ready to go to war for him.